What's going on, y'all? In this video, I'm going to show you how to scale to $1,000 a day or more using just interest and region targeting for Shopify dropshipping. All right, what's going on, y'all? Braden here. In just a second, we're going to jump into the computer and I'm going to show you the exact interest types to use, the exact regions to use to take you to at least $1,000 a day or more. This is exactly the interest types and the regions I've been using to take my most recent Shopify store to over 6 figures per month. So this is definitely one you want to pay attention to. But before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a huge favor, smash that like button down below, hit subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. This video idea actually came from someone leaving a comment on one of the last few videos. So I definitely check those out and I actually respond to all questions that are left within the first hour of the video uploaded. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in the computer and get into it. All right, so one thing to note before we actually get into this and we dive into the exact interests and regions and all of that is I see too many beginners now, they're trying to get to lookalike audiences and frankly retargeting before they really should be focusing on that. Essentially, you need to have a decent or winning product or a well-converting store to really have lookalike audiences be of use to you. You don't want to go ahead and run lookalike audiences on essentially bad traffic or a non-converting store. So you need that in place. So this is going to show you how to have that, how to one, be making sales from the very beginning, have that well-converting store, and two, how to find these decent and winning products, but then exploit them to be making a lot of money without lookalike audiences. Yes, lookalike audiences are super, super important. They're kind of the holy grail of Facebook ads. And once you get to that point, you can absolutely crush it, but you should be able to be making a lot of money if you're doing things right in the very beginning with just regular ad sets, regular campaigns. And that's what I'm gonna show you right here. So the huge point here is be focusing on, really, really diving in, finding out exactly what interests work, exactly what regions work, and then you go ahead and you capitalize even more on that with your lookalike audiences. It's like I've talked in past videos about how you wanna go ahead, A/B test absolutely everything from ad copy, all of that. That's actually what we're gonna talk about in the next Facebook ads videos, how to A/B test everything, get it all narrowed down. You're wanting to find out absolutely everything that works, not leave anything on the table. And this is the best starting place that I found over the last few years. I've been using this strategy over the last few years and it works time and time and time again. And essentially I start with interests and I start with particular regions. And then I go ahead and not only use it for testing, but then I use it to get that initial scaling, get that scaling to 1,000, 2,000, or even more a day. And this will take me to that point even before the lookalike audiences. All right, so the first interest type that we're gonna talk about is competitors. So I hear all these different types, should you use a single interest? Should you use stacking? All of that. Really what we're gonna be talking about today is exactly what type of interest to go under. So this is one thing that my mentor taught me in the very beginning. This is about 3 years ago now. He said, go ahead and target competitors. So by competitors, let's go ahead and use the sunglasses example that we always use. If I was to target competitors, I'd be targeting Ray-Ban, Oakley. I'd be targeting other sunglass companies, the direct competitors to what my company would be. If you're in an outdoor space, you could be doing REI, Patagonia, testing all those. Essentially right here, you're wanting to test competitors. What I found is that competitors essentially give the most closely linked data to Facebook on who to target. If someone goes ahead and they like REI or they've shopped at REI or they like Patagonia, they've shopped at Patagonia, there's a strong possibility that they really, really like outdoor stuff and they're gonna like shopping from your outdoor store. So this is one way to right off the bat, really, really crush it with your interest type. And this is how I've been actually using on my most recent Shopify store. I've essentially been having the most success with competitor targeting. So if you haven't tried competitors yet, or you're testing products, this is exactly how I go through and I'm testing products. I test them typically using competitors. If I really, really have an inkling that a product is a golden winner and I'm not really finding it with competitors, the other two methods can work out well. But essentially I start with competitors 90% of the time for testing. Once I actually find out that the product sells, that my store is actually converting with that product, everything like that, even if it's been working out with the competitor types, I'm gonna still go ahead and try targeting using these other interest types to go ahead and see if they perform better. Sometimes they do, and essentially this goes back to the whole A/B testing, split testing idea. You wanna go ahead and find how to essentially drive your cost per conversion down. You want to get it to where you've got the most efficient ad possible, and this is going to give you the better data for when you do get to lookalike audiences. So the other two types that I like to use are magazines and then hobbies and activities. So the second best one I like is magazines. This goes along with competitor types. If you're going ahead and targeting a magazine that's in your space, so if you're in the makeup space, you could do, I don't know many makeup magazines, but something maybe like Vogue or Cosmopolitan. If you're in the outdoor space, you could do Outdoor Life, or I think there's one just called Outdoor. You would go ahead and target people that like those type of magazines, and those tend to perform pretty similar to how competitors perform. And you can definitely test this in the same competitor type because it is a very similar type. But this is giving you another option of how to really, really quickly find your target audience. With hobbies and activities, this is not something that I typically start with, but this is something that I always split test. So, if you've got a home and garden store, you could be targeting people that like gardening. If you're in the outdoor space, you could target people that like climbing, hiking. You're finding the activities that would pertain to your store. These typically don't work as well, but every once in a while they will perform a little bit better than everything else. So this is definitely something to still test. The order that I like to do it though is definitely competitors first. That is definitely what I start with 90% of the time. But then I'm still always testing these other interest types. On the most recent store that I've had, I've tested all three. Competitors work best. Magazines do work some of the time. Hobbies and activities don't really apply to the store as much. But it's definitely worth shooting for. So definitely go ahead, try competitors. That's going to give you the best data right off the bat to go ahead and start targeting. It's going to be the closest to your audience type because it's already a customer of another store in your niche. So when it comes to what location to go with, there's two different types to go with. There are what I call large regions, and then there's the individual countries. If you really, really want to scale out very, very quickly and efficiently, and this is something I've talked about for years now, you want to focus on horizontal scaling. So the rest of this video is going to be purely on horizontal scaling, how to get more campaigns, more ad sets rolling out that are all working and performing very, very well, that then you scale up vertically. So if you have this in the very beginning, before you even get to lookalike audiences, you're going to have tons of ad sets or tons of campaigns that are performing at a high level. And then what's great is you're going to have a lot of individual regions and individual countries that's going to have very, very strong lookalike audience data that you can be running lookalike audience now in several regions, several countries. Too many times I see people that try to get to lookalike audiences and they only have lookalike audience data for one or two countries. You want to have it to where you have lookalike audience data for 10 plus countries or 10 plus regions, plus you have all of the regular ads or campaigns running before that and scaling up. This is how you can scale very, very quickly and very, very efficiently. So starting out, the large regions that I like to test and use, starting with worldwide. Now with worldwide, this is one that I've seen is very hit or miss in the beginning. In the beginning, it can actually perform very, very well, and this can give you a lot of initial data very quickly and very efficiently, or this one won't perform very well when your pixel doesn't have the intelligence to know who exactly to target to, because you're giving it essentially a very, very broad audience, and sometimes this can be too broad, but it's definitely worth testing. I'll go ahead and unhighlight all these here so we can talk about all of them. So then the other one would be Europe. Europe is one of my favorites. Europe tends to work out very well, and that comes down to the countries that I like to test, the individual countries. Europe can be a very, very, very strong region for you to target. Then you've got North America, South America, Asia, Africa, and then I've gone here exclusions. So the reason I've got Africa and exclusion starred, and I really should have worldwide starred as well, is you're wanting to go ahead and exclude several countries within this. You don't want to go ahead and essentially just put worldwide and let it run. You're going to have a lot of inefficient spend. You're going to spend in countries like maybe India. Maybe you don't want to test India in the beginning. I do have some products that actually do work out well in India, but I don't typically test it with worldwide. You could have fraud countries. So a lot of times Indonesia, that can be high fraud. A lot of times you don't want to test Africa within worldwide. If I'm going to test Africa, I typically do that just on its own, because that one I found is hit or miss. But you want to go ahead and exclude some of these countries. I typically exclude China from my worldwide. So that's why I've got these starred. You want to go ahead and make sure you're excluding some of the more inefficient spend countries from here, or you completely are going to ruin that ad set or that campaign. So definitely go ahead and test these large regions. I don't suggest testing the large regions when you're actually testing the product. This would be after you've already established that the product is making sales, is at least a decent product. Then you're going to want to go in here and test these, because then you can actually build lookalike audiences for these large regions. You can have lookalike audiences for Europe. You can have lookalike audiences for Asia. You don't need just the individual countries. You can actually have lookalike audiences for these large regions. And when you have such a large audience like this, and you have an audience that's working, this is where you can scale very, very, very quickly. This is why I tell people to still go with large regions. Yes, the individual countries is typically going to be better for testing products, but like I said, when you've established that you can actually make sales with that product, you want to go ahead and find all these large regions that work as well. So now let's get into individual countries. Now this is where you can actually test products. You can test them with these individual countries. Now, I'm not saying you can't test products with the large regions. I know people that like to test their products with worldwide or some of those larger regions. I just typically don't do that. I'll choose my best countries that have been working for me, and that's where I usually test the products. And then, like I said, once I found out that the products work, then I'm going to go ahead and find everything that works, from the different interests that work to the large regions that work to the actual individual countries. So I'm not including all my countries on here because I literally have some products that are working in, all around the world. They've got countries all around the world that it's selling, but I'm going to give you kind of my main ones, at least for this store that I've been working on since April 1st, what's actually been working. So the UK across the board, not just this store, all my stores, the UK has time and time again been my best country. I don't know exactly why that is, but the UK, tends to work time and time again for me. I'll go and unhighlight all these for you. Of course, we've got US, we've got Canada, Australia, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, and Sweden are actually working very well for me as of late. Netherlands has always been one of my favorite countries as well. If you've been following me for a while, you know I've been running in the Netherlands for a long time. Definitely give that one a shot. Spain, France, Italy, those are always great. Russia tends to be hit or miss depending on the product, but Russia has such a big audience too that, or a big demographic, that you can typically find people that like your product in Russia. You've got Germany. Under here, I've got Austria. I've got so many other countries as well, but these are kind of the main countries that I've been running as of late. So this is definitely something to test. The whole point of this video is to get in your mind that before you even get to lookalike audiences, you've got to test the product, and you need to have the right interests in place to do that. And then you need to be testing the right countries. And so I've built whole other videos on exactly what countries I test products with. This is more on once you've established that a product is selling, how to scale out from there, how to have, massive horizontal scaling that then you can vertically scale it and then get to lookalike audiences. Imagine if you get to where you're making sales in all of these regions, from the large regions all the way through the individual countries. Imagine how much lookalike audience data you're going to have, how many lookalike audiences you're going to be able to build out. This is where you can do those 6 figures per month in the first or second month, and that's what I did for this store. It's just massive horizontal scaling. And one thing I've seen too with Facebook ads over the last few years, you're going to have a lot more success building out more campaigns, more ad sets, than trying to just edit or duplicate the budget of those ad sets or campaigns. Instead of you trying to essentially just keep raising the amount spend on each individual campaign or ad set, create more. One thing I've really been seeing since the January 2018 algorithm change is that you want to go ahead and have lower spend per ad set or per campaign, depending on the price point of your product. It seems like ads perform a lot better if they stay on the lower end. So this is where it really benefits you to go ahead and create a lot of ad sets. And this is going to give you a lot to go ahead and test here. If you go ahead and test, the different interest types for that product, and then you go ahead and test every single region or country that it could be working in, you guys will be good to go. Now, the large regions, those you want to absolutely test for every product. You want to go ahead and test every country for every product that's working. I'm not here saying you need to go ahead and test all of these countries right off the bat. If you find out that a product is selling, say in the UK and US, then go ahead and one day go ahead and add 3 more countries that you're testing, then add more. And not all of them will work. You'll have some that don't work, but essentially what you're finding out is everywhere around the world that these sell with the different interest types as well. And then you go ahead and then you build out your lookalike audiences, and then you're scaling to the moon very quickly, very efficiently, keeping your profit margins high. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment down below letting me know any other video ideas you guys like to see. I'm definitely going to go ahead and drop that split testing, A/B testing video soon. But any other videos you'd like me to do on for Shopify or anything else, I can do that for you guys. But definitely leave a like on this video if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Keep grinding, y'all, and I'll see you in the next video.